Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Well, this has been a very weird week. I'm glad you guys have all, stuck it out with me here, because this has been a very strange week, full of all kinds of weird things that have gone on. We've had not family troubles here, but, just the normal trying to kind of navigate the COVID universe of having a kid who stays home and trying to get him to locations and back from locations and everything like that. Everything seems to have converged on just this week. But we did it. We got everything done. And because today is conference day, the little guy is over there asleep. Kind of envy him a little. Anyway, we were going to have Pepper on the show today. But sadly, Pepper had a problem sleeping last night. Totally feel for him. So he's not going to make it today. So we're going to go on ahead and have a normal show today. We're going to do our normal thing. We're going to talk a little bit about Mayrel, which is one of the characters, the secondary characters in the story. I want to talk a little bit about her and get her color code squared away, because she's uniquely interesting, but I also will need to hire Pepper to make some specialized color for her skin, so that we can have that as well. For right now, let's go on ahead and head over to the desk and do our warm-ups for the morning. I don't know why that has lines in it. It does. It's so weird. All right. Next week, we'll be using this guy here. This is an interesting fellow. This is effectively a light board. That's all this is. It's just it is a flat LED light panel, and what it does is it projects LED light across the surface of this, and I can trace with it, which is what we're going to do next week when we get going with some more watercolors. The camera has bonked slightly. I think it should be like this. All I'm doing is making you guys sick, aren't I? Look at us. There we go. It's weird because it doesn't look level at all here. Okay. Get ourselves our normal equipment for this task. We've got our L square. This L square is still one of my favorite L squares. It's big and metal and like all kinds of trouble. It is a troubly L square. I mean, this could hurt somebody. I love this L square. I don't even remember where I got it either. I mean, it's a big hunk of metal, and I got it from somewhere, I'm sure, but I don't remember whether. I mean, it's been with me for 20 some odd years, so maybe 30 years now. One of the earliest pieces of equipment that I ever got. I wonder if I stole it from my dad by accident. Sorry, Dad, if I did. I mean, it's slightly warped. I know that, right here, I can get my pencil almost underneath it. So, it is entirely plausible that it's possible that it is just a little bit warped. If I look right down the line on it, you can just see just a little bit of a warp right there. That's alright. It does its job. I don't need it to do anything more than what it's doing right now, being a straight edge. Okay, we'll put ourselves in some lines here. It's been a week since I did any of these warm-ups, so I'm of the opinion that I probably am not going to do so good. We'll see. Put in our 3 point-to-points. Alright. get our fine liner out. And again, I use a 0.4 fine liner. Anything from 0.4 to 0.8 should be fine. Anything more than 0.8 and the line is too thick, pretty much anything less than 0.4, and the line's kind of too thin. So anything right in between 0.4 and 0.8 should be perfect. Okay. Now we're going to just remember to relax your elbow. Trace the line. Again, I'm taking techniques from drawabox.com, where the guy has really good ideas about what us artists should be doing. And yeah, my line is completely out of whack. Look at that. Interesting. We'll go from here. There we go, a little bit better. Definitely homing back in. There we go. Okay, whoa, way off. Whoo, doggy. And today is the 16th. And we'll look at this. Let's take a look real quick from last week. We've got a set from last week. And let's take a look at where we are from there. Just taking from 10-8. Right? I mean, these long lines seem like they're doing better. But boy, the short lines. Not doing so well on the short lines, am I? Alright, let's head back. Good morning, Donald. It's good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. I haven't exercised in a week, and it shows on my lines over there. Very much showing. I was noticing how much my lines have started to wander off a little, you know. It's interesting how much practice and daily exercise is good for you. And stuff like that. I'm just kind of Okay, now that we've warmed up, we're going to work on this character. This is Mayrel. Mayrel is my G.S.Davis navigator, whose job it is to... She's not a navigator, she's a sailmaster, so she does sail. She controls the sails of the ship. There are a couple of things that I want to kind of work on here when we're dealing with this new uniform setup, and that is like things like when we look at, if we open recent, the other pinup, another pinup, it even says pinup, and we look at the blue and green version of this. This is the command color being green. I want to kind of come up with a nice color for this uniform that's involved in purple, like a lavender of some sort. But I feel like this purple is just a little too bright. And so I'm going to kind of play a little bit here with our purples until we've got everything we need on this. Like, does it need a darker purple? We'll go in here and just check, right? Like, is this better? Let's take a look. And I feel like this looks better. This little spot right there. And I like that one a little bit better. But we want to look again, offsetting it with the green. The green's very dark, and it is more like a forest green. So I feel like we want to have this to be more like a plum. If so, we need to go back to her division colors here and fix them. The problem is, of course, when we get to darker on this, we don't have a lot of room. You can go up to here. I feel like on that plum. So, I think that's probably acceptable. This is services, or the services department on a ship. It should be purple. And these are the people who keep the ship running. There's the people who are the command division. And these are the people in charge. And these are the people who keep the ship running. So engineering. So this is, your engineers will be dressed like this. The services people, helm officers. There'll be a lot of purple in this ship because it's the people who run the ship, right? So I want to make sure it's a pleasant color and not something where you're like, oh, not that purple again. I thought about putting orange in there or yellow. Yep, okay, see you in a sec. I thought about putting something in there like yellow or green or something, but the truth is that I don't think we're going to have... I think that there are 3 specialty ranks that should be in here. Or 3 specialty uniforms, I guess. Because I do agree with Star Trek's 3 color scheme. I just don't think it covers a lot of the possible jobs. For one, what color do I wear? As an artist, what color would I wear in the Starfleet universe? I've always worn blue because I like blue. But I've got no logic behind it, so I'm kind of trying to figure out some of the ins and outs of this. You've got kind of the idea and the concept of plausibly... Wow, my monitor is a mess. I'm just going to think about some of this logic here. So, here we go. Alright. Forgot to clean my monitor. And since this has been a week where I haven't really been at the monitor all week long, kind of feels like I've abandoned my monitor a little. But it also is suffering from an overabundance of dirt. All right. Okay, so we've got to come up with colors that complement, that are easy to define, easy to understand, and maybe we want to look at this as a matter of course in colors. Maybe it's blue on blue. What do we do if we do blue on blue? Looks kind of cool, actually. I actually like that one a whole lot better. That's probably the color I want. Okay, well, we have decided that one. We'll darken it down for the shade and lighten it back up for its highlight. Yeah, that's probably what we're going to do. I didn't realize that that was what I needed, but that's what I needed. So we got green, we got blue on blue. All right. Well, who knew? Who knew? I didn't. Yikes. There we go. Make sure every little subsection, like this little guy right there. Okay. Okay. Bring that along. That's kind of interesting. One of the things I've discovered that I do as an artist is often my instincts are pretty sharp, and I don't trust them. And so I have often discovered that, I'm discovering anyway, as time goes on, that if I struggle with something, I'm probably not doing the right thing. I mean, clearly, engineering did not need to be purple. I just thought it was, and I was fighting it and fighting it and fighting it, and it's clearly not purple. So there's that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this, and let's get in here and do some work on this picture so we can get all of our color codes correct. First things first, let's go in detail with her eyes. Not her eyes. We've got her under control. We'll just close that. Okay. Alright, I'm going to get in here close. We're going to do a lot of damage apparently. Let's bring this down. There we go. Perfect. Just like that. We're just going to, at some point in time, I'm going to put in her pupil, don't worry. But for right now, we're just going to do this way. Snag that. There we go. Perfect. And that's the way that goes, right like through here, left like that. There we go. And we don't have highlights for her eyes at all. But we'll make sure we've got the scalia correct, right? There we go. Just putting in the shade there. I'll come back and fix that in a bit. But at least for right now, this is so very light and nobody sees it really, but you'll feel it. And sometimes that's the important thing, is that you want to put in the right color because people will feel that color. It won't be straight up. You won't be able to see it directly, but you'll feel that it's there. Now, well, let's finish her lips up, because that's another really tight spot before I move up on my pen. Go in here and just give some shape to unlike our captain, she's got color in her face, whereas I feel like Chang has pretty uniform color. She doesn't have super bright lips or anything like that. She doesn't have sort of the shape of the upper lip there. Chang is sort of, as far as a palette goes, pretty straight up and straightforward. Right? Whereas Mayrel has pink lips and very well defined lips and things like that. So I feel like that's something we want to work with here. Right? I'm just putting highlights on the top of the lips here. Give it a little bit of pattern too. Alright, there we go. It's going to look a little funky until we get everything all squared away. I go in here. There we go. We're just going to put in the underside of this nose here. Now I feel like when I designed Mayrel, she's got a pretty prominent nose. Kind of a lovely, not quite beakish, I wouldn't say, but very much a... Mayrel's design is to be Middle Eastern, or... I'm probably hitting a little too close to the classic gypsy sort of stylization, that sort of culture of the wanderers and the nomads that were put down and diminished. And in the same instance, I kind of want that when we're talking about our G.S.Davis in here, and you know that sort of that semi-derogatory term being used very much like the terms that were used against those who were, whoa, what color are you doing there? Those who were most certainly held down in that world, in that culture. We got a lot of that kind of thing going on with the G.S.Davis. They are that. They fill that role in the story very much. So I'm following the contours of her nose here. I'm giving a little bit of light there and a little bit of dark here because her nose is bumpy. It's got a lot of various functions going on here. Various sort of like that, and come up and around there, just like that. I feel like I'm making our nose look like it's broken or something. It's like going one side. The shadows are not helping me any here. So let's do this. There we go. We haven't drawn her much yet, so she's not easy to draw yet. Getting much better with Chang. It was a lot easier to draw. She's young too. She's younger than Chang by a lot. She doesn't look it, heritage and all, but she is. So we've got to kind of work with this here. Right. Clear this up right here. There we go. Like that. There we go. And come around here like this and like that. And this area down here can be back to the lighter color. This allows us to fight a little bit more over skin and everything like that. People look at your face. And obviously, that is the place that we look the most at people. So I can spend some extra quality time here on the face, and that's fine. Kind of do this part here, where we've got that front part right in front of the ear, and that's going to be highlight, right? Just a little bit there. Come around here, the bottom of the face. There we go. She's got a very round bottom part of her face, small lips. So, and they do stand out. Let's go back over here and grab some of this. The hair doesn't seem to have a subcolor. Alright, I feel like we need to make sure we have a subcolor over here. So I'm gonna do this. Yeah. And it's really, really close to the same color. So we want to make sure the color margin stays down quite a bit. Ugh. I can't tell if that's a leak or if it is a leak. That's part of the problem. It's a leak. It's leaking up here. There we go. There. Because really that's what we want. We want this to be the darker part of our hair. Welcome back. Welcome back, Donald. When you have hair that's like this, it's already pretty dark, but there has to be some highlight to it. We didn't actually we didn't need this before when we were working on Chang, because her hair is just jet black. But Mayrell's hair is not jet black. So we've got to kind of go in here and give some highlight sides and some darkness sides so that we can give some depth to this hair. Right? And what we're doing here is giving some real depth. Right? Kind of giving this, that. And what we're going to do to make this work is this highlight color here, right? We're going to take a look at the structure here. Lighten it up just a little bit so we can see the structure. We're going to go in like this. When we set up a 3-light setup, and when we're doing photography, when we set up a 3-light setup, there's what we call a hair light, which is a light that's right over here, right? And that gives the ability to highlight this side, and that's actually the entire point of highlighting this side, is so that we can see depth. Otherwise, her hair just vanishes in this bun back there. It just disappears and goes away. So what we're doing here is just highlighting that section of it. And because of the way it's the nature of the beast, we'll highlight this side too. Right? same thing. I'm just going to give highlights along this side because this side of the hair is being backlit by the light over here. All right. And there we go. Now the other thing is that I'm noticing that I'm going to get that same highlight across this part of her chin. So we're going to want to think about that. I mean, do we have a line like this to just show that part of the chin? And we do, right? Because it's going to come along here like that. Right? And that's what's happening. It's that same light. And that light's going to hit just this part of her chin right there and the back part of her neck. If the flight crew or navigation uniform had like 2 stars with a light trail going to a 3rd star on like the shoulder of the uniform. That is interesting. That's an interesting idea. We haven't gotten to that. I mean, while you were away, I decided that purple wasn't the color I was looking for here. I'm obviously looking for a lighter blue. So she's 2-tone blue now. And as I was kind of going on about there, oh, that does look like her nose is crooked, doesn't it? We'll have to fix that. While we were talking, or while we were discussing that, I was discussing how sometimes I fight myself, and I don't need to, right? So, in this instance, I was fighting myself and really clearly did not need to be doing purple. Is clearly what needed to happen here. Right? We definitely did not need purple. I don't know where I'm going to use purple for, but... So you're saying a different device, though. You're not talking about her patch, because this is, of course, this is their flag, or the national flag, or something like that, so... we can't really change that patch, but you're talking about a separate device that may be right up here that indicates that she has a different position or job. And that's kind of what you're up to, right? That's if I'm reading correctly. Maybe like she has specialized pins on her collar. A sparkling hair clip. Huh. Maybe a sparkling hair clip. That might not be a bad idea either. I'm not opposed. But let's talk about devices on here. If she is a sailmaster. So, you're talking about a device that, let's draw this up here. And I'm just going to sketch, right? So we've got a star and a star. And this is a device coming from a 3rd star. I mean, we are limited on what we can do. Maybe a device similar to that? Hey, George. How you doing, man? Good morning. Haven't seen you in a while. You want to come over here and get up on screen? Hey, George. Hey, George. Hey. Goober cat. Come here. Come here. Hurry. If you want up here to be on screen, you gotta come up here. Was that all you wanted to do, was just scritch? So, I mean, I can definitely see a device, maybe something like this that's on her collar right here. In fact, I'm noticing that I'm missing a few things on her collar while we're here. Well, since we're up and close, let's talk about some of the things that should be on her collar. For example... And she's missing her rank pin. But she could have... Sailors are very superstitious, and I don't think space sailors would be any different. She could have, like, a star to indicate navigation, right? And device colors are here. So this could be... Yeah, but as a hair good luck charm. I absolutely agree. I'll give her some device that fits that. But haven't decided whether the rank devices are gold or not on these uniforms. However, let's go ahead and grab that red, because that device is definitely red. These are the clasps that air seal your uniform. And if she touches those two, they'll clasp, and they put up a field around her head to protect her from the vacuum of space. The suits are rated for like 4 or 5 hours in a hard vacuum. So it would be, it's not, I wonder what kind of clasp she would have. Because I like the idea of a clasp. Let's design that. First, I'm not sure we're going to do this guy, so let's get him out of there. But I would put another layer, because I agree with you, she'd be superstitious. And it wouldn't be something that would violate uniform code or anything like that. So, some kind of flare that wouldn't violate uniform code. She could probably put something in her hair back here. Ooh, we're in the wrong color. Right, we could put something in her hair right over here. This works really well. She's probably somewhat superstitious. I hadn't thought about that. But she comes from a long line of sailors. And they would definitely have some kind of thing. Good thinking. It's like holding her hair in, like that. A hair clip, that works. I'm sure it means something. I'm sure it's like a little bear or something cute. But now that you've mentioned some things, though, I keep thinking about some of the things that we're talking about here. We're talking about devices to indicate different jobs or tasks. I mean, because the Navy has a ton of them, different task information and data put on their uniforms to indicate different types and jobs. And we've been kind of going with the Star Trek model, which, you're lucky if, you can remember all of the 430 people on your ship. I find that to be particularly funny. Star Trek got rid of the name tags. And so, with the exception of 2161 uniforms, which were the only uniforms that had name tags. And they even referenced it numerous times, with Kirk going, Lieutenant Jones, sir. Oh, Lieutenant Jones. Good to see you, I mean, clearly he had to remember 430 faces. That's the expectation. I'd be such a disaster as a starship captain, I think, because I would never remember people's names, and they'd be so offended. They'd be so sad. Captain doesn't remember my name. Let's talk about something that would be... First of all, I think the uniform should be... It's just black. It's a black line. She's a lieutenant. And the question is, she a Lieutenant JG or not? Anyway, we'll fix her. We'll fix her up here in a minute or two. I want to kind of go through here and fix up this line. It's kind of messy. Right through here. And we're just going to go through here and just clean this up. We're just making, this got just a little out of hand through here. A little too thick. So I'm just going through and just policing it a little, cleaning it up. There we go. And that way we don't have to worry about it as much. Whoa, that's the wrong tool for the job. I don't think she's JG. Well, she might be. I like the idea that it was religious as well, but we've already got religious markings right here on her face. So she's got the 3-dot tattoo, which indicates a religion. No Pepper today. Pepper, apparently Pepper had a hard time sleeping last night. I chuckled, but I didn't mean to chuckle. He had a hard time sleeping last night, and so he's out for the day, and I appreciate that. I have had real problems sleeping in the past as well, and I feel for him. So we're going to work on Bellatrix a little today. We're going to do some colors. I want to have Pepper mix up her skin as well. So it's in my best interest to finish this piece today, because next week we'll get together and we'll do this. I'm going to be getting together with Pepper tomorrow, and I'll be picking up the paint that we mixed on last week's show. And so I'll be able to have that. And what we'll do... Yeah, no, this is religious. This is part of G.S.Davis Art. I could see this being... I mean, here's my thought on this one. People are complex, right? So even if this is a religious mark on her head, she may not be very religious. It might just be that she got tattooed because she's supposed to get tattooed, and all's good, and that's fine, and, she does the tattoo thing, and everything's okay, whatever. But, man, don't be without her little hair clip, because then, the ship will crash, Something. I could totally see the ship will crash. I've got to go back and get my hair clipped. You know, we don't want the ship to crash. It'd be kind of funny. I mean, because that seems like a lot of the folks that I've met in my day. Okay. Going through here, now we're going to go on ahead and up on this upper layer. I'm going to go on here and we're going to go into the eye here, and we'll just right there we go. Give her some life. There we go. Brightens her up, makes her look like she's alive. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So depending on your MOS, you'd have like a different style of what your utility belt would have. That's not a bad idea either. Because, I mean, and that's the other thing is like we were just talking about that. Depending on your MOS, what are the devices that your uniform has? Because maybe she, as a sailmaster, maybe she does have a device, a different kind of utility belt, things like that. I mean, I would imagine that engineers would carry around a utility belt, right? They've got their little widget for, for fixing the doodly wop, They'll have a utility belt of some sort. So we actually haven't brought up an engineer yet. We don't even know what engineers look like. Because I actually would feel like engineers might have a completely different structure. My thought is maybe they have a vest. I mean, rather than a belt, maybe it's a vest. Vests are easy to put on, and they carry many more things than maybe something more like webbing. And we should do engineers next, because now that we're starting to kind of ponder it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good point. We don't quite have the idea of what engineers are doing. But I mean, we're talking about engineers too. We're not. It's like, what kind of engineers? Because we've got we're going to have a number of specialized MOSs inside engineering. You're going to have not just your normal, you're not just Scotty. There's got to be more than that. And a lot of things I'm thinking about here when it comes to engineering. Because you'd have computer engineers. They don't need to be carrying around a wrench per se. I mean, they're there to work on the data flow and things like that. So they'd have little tricorders or whatever is the equivalent of a tricorder. And a lot of that, those guys wouldn't even really need to wear a vest, because their suit computer, which we brought up, and now we have. Yeah, I know, you're very funny. I'm trying to figure out. It's interesting that I brought this up, and then last night on Discovery, they've got the same kind of thing. So I'm right up there with Star Trek. But the suits have the built-in, you tap here and it brings up your consoles. And so you can control the consoles from behind, and you can control the consoles from in front, like this. So you'll have a series of console controls down here, and a series of console controls up here. Or you have it over here, right? It's actually probably, depending if you're right-handed, like Chang is right-handed, so it's coming out of this part of her suit right here. Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I think we should probably talk about what are they wearing on away missions. I mean, I'm of the opinion that these suits are microwave. They're very, 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 very at the microscopic level. They're a spacesuit. They're light armor, and all of the things that you'd need, and the temperature control, so you actually can walk around on a planet that's really cold and just pinch that closed, and it immediately locks up the suit, and your hands are protected from the cold, and your head's protected, and so we've got to kind of come up with what this suit means and things like that. But there's a certain amount of what this suit can do. I think that's not a bad idea. You mean in the movies, where you're talking about the Abrams movies, where Sulu had the katana that snapped out? I agree. Which I'm of the opinion that when we talk about these things, first of all, kind of like the nature of these two kind of offsetting each other like this is kind of cool. Her here, her here. You definitely can see the difference in skin tone as two characters. I want to make sure that it looks reasonably different. I don't want her to be confused. Their faces will be different enough. I don't think that's going to be an issue. But you certainly can see the difference in colors between their skin tones. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that there'd be some kind of... There is a logic behind being impressive. There is symbolism in our clothing. And so when you're... Why does that look like a different shade of blue? It does look like a different shade of blue, doesn't it? This is a richer blue than this is. And I'm not happy with that. I want this uniform to look more like this. So let's go on ahead and check our codes here, because I have a feeling that in her color codes she's got something different going on here. Yeah, that's a different shade. Look at that. Let's straighten that out. There we go. And then let's go over here and fix this. Yeah. We're on the wrong layer. You've got to stop. Why? You're on the wrong layer. Much better. Much brighter blue. That might also have been part of our problem. I mean, it's hard to... There we go. So, yeah, I mean, when we talk about these uniforms, we want to talk about what they can do. They're very tight to the body, certainly. That's mostly for freedom purposes, not restricting their movement. And you have people who can effectively walk around as if they were naked. And there are times when our clothes get into our way. And if you could just have effectively a second skin, where it just locks into your body and it moves with you, you get all of the benefits of that. Although, I mean, it'd have to be heat transfer, it'd have to be cold transfer. I mean, otherwise you'll just overheat and die. It has to be breathable, or at least be able to breathe for you. And that's a thing the skin that this uniform would have to do. It would have to breathe. Locking humans up into form-fitting outfits has proven in the past. When you paint people, let's say, you know, that's one of the big concerns that people have, is that, or that's one of the things, we've had models, you know, who were painted, their bodies were painted, and they got sick and died because their skin couldn't breathe. So the uniform's going to have to breathe for them and be comfortable and work really well. Right? And it becomes an insulation. Anytime, and that's, like I said, these uniforms have to be able for you to squeeze shut this pin up here on the front, right up here on the top, where these two meet. We have to be able to snap that shut and seal the system. As soon as those two are together, you're in space, and you have to be able to be ejected into space and survive. I also feel like the hip holster, which holds their weapon on the side here, I think that also has entry ports into the system, so you can close this up and grab a air tank and snap it into where your weapon would go, and that air tank would keep your suit operating for 20 or 30 hours. So as long as you can grab air tanks, or it's a recycler, air recycler, or something. But I think that would be perfectly reasonable. You have this like air recycler tank, you snap it into the spot here. Sure, you're going to have to carry around your pistol like on your back or something if you need to do both. But the truth is, generally speaking, we don't put people into an emergency situation out into space where they're going to need their pistol as well. Even in a war situation, that tends to be, we all have rules. The Geneva Convention of Space, so nobody's going to decide suddenly that we need to space people and kill them. That's against the Geneva Convention of Rules. Okay, so we'll go through here. We'll go ahead and put in the dark areas. It's not to say that it won't happen, but it'll be egregious when it does. It'll be exactly like what happens if you were to go out and kill sailors, right? Sailors in the water, if you were to shoot them from your ship, that's against the Geneva Convention. It's just really nasty. Yep, I mean, these suits are going to have to be awesome. And I think if you were to really look close at these suits, what you'd find is they are little, like, interlocked hexagons or something, some kind of grid that goes along, and each one of those little hexagons has a number of utilities that it does. Same sort of thing as you would have with, each one of those little grid hexagon things would have utilities that assist the situation. There.
It's time to take a quick break.
Oh, the light has turned green. That means it's time for a break. It's time for all of us to stand up and stretch, which is actually kind of good because my back is kind of hurting. So let's switch over to the Ring camera. Wow, the Ring camera looks frozen. What's going on with the Ring camera? I'm frozen. Is the monitor frozen too? No? Just me. What about over here at the desk? Just looks like the Ring camera has... Huh. Well, let's go back to the monitor. I seem to be frozen. So everybody get up and stretch. Walk around the office for a second, wherever you are. Give it a minute. Let's walk around, do our thing. Give it a 5-minute break here. Okay, now that we're back. Yeah, I have a George right here, but you can't see him because my camera has frozen. I don't know what the story is with the camera. But George is here being George. So, what do you think, George? Would you be a good Nimitz? I think you'd be a good Nimitz. You could sit on my shoulder all the time. And if anybody attacked me, you could be a whole bunch of razor claws. What do you think? You'd be a good Nimitz? You'd be a good Nimitz. You'd have your own little space suit. And have it custom made. Think you'd be a good tree cat? I think you'd be a good tree cat. Now, kind of bummed that this isn't working. That's kind of a bummer. At least this is still working. So, I think George would make an excellent tree cat, personally. So, okay, getting back to work here, we're just going to go on ahead and... Will you stop chewing on that? No, don't chew on that, little goober. Leave the main line alone. Although, hey, you know what we can do? You can see Cat. There's George. Being George. Goofball. He's such a goofball. Right? Freaky Friday felines. That's you. You're a Freaky Friday feline. Did you know that? Did you know that? You're a goober. There we go. Okay. Back to work for all of us. No rest for the wicked. Okay. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if we had something like that. I don't think it'd be I mean, that's an interesting commentary here. And there's something to actually ponder. Do we have people who are disabled? Not because there's nothing, not because there's anything wrong with disabled, but the question really goes to, have we solved all of our disabled problems by now? That's something that's a thought process and something to ponder. I mean, it is definitely something to ponder. And I mean, I guess there would probably be permanent disabilities still even in this era. But if you've got gene control, and you've got control over, these people do not overeat because they've got finally control over the companies that make us all overeat. And you've got good mental health care. Excuse me. That's true. Porthos. We had Porthos. It is absolutely Black Cat Awareness Month. We should be very, very protective of our black cats because this is the month when a lot of black cats are killed. And it's sad and it's true and it makes me very unhappy as an owner of a black cat. And this is not the first black cat we've had. This is, in fact, the third black cat that I have had in my lifetime. And I keep getting black cats because I know that they are abused during Halloween all the time. And so, it is indeed Black Cat Awareness Month. Let's be very careful with our black cats, because they are good little people. And they don't deserve the abuse that they get at this time of year. They really don't. Yeah, Spot. Well, and we've got grunge as well. So, I mean, there are animals all over the place. There's Spot, then there's Book's cat, Grudge, who has a thyroid problem. I just dig some of the stuff that they're pulling out these days. It's kind of cute. So, I mean, there's a number of these things that we've got to work with here. Somebody had said she looks like she's waiting for a train. I thought, yeah, that's about right. She does kind of look like she's waiting for a train over here. She's like, man, when's the train gonna get here? Stupid train. Yeah, I'm not opposed. Certainly not. There we go. So, would there be a black cat in this? Now, the truth of the matter is, the nature of the story might preclude us taking a cat onto the ship. Because really, these guys are more, at least in the first part of the story, their ship is able, or is docked in a big space station. And so they've got this huge space station that they're dealing with. So would they have a cat on board or something like that? Probably not. But would Chang have a cat that lives in her apartment? Probably. It's entirely plausible, right? Yeah, I think that could happen quite a bit. What happened? What was I doing? Did I disconnect it by accident? Maybe what happened? Did we short it out? What happened to our camera? Is this our camera? Maybe we did. I hate to unplug things because I'm afraid that it will. Let's give that a try and see if it comes back. It really didn't, did it? It's just locked. Locked down dead. I don't even see a command light on it. Well, it's funny, we had this problem when we were talking to, or we had the multi-camera thing going back in, a couple of weeks ago, when Pepper was on here and we were trying to draw at the same time. And at first I thought that was an affectation of the system. Now I'm starting to wonder if that's not just an affectation of some kind of problem with the camera. I'm wondering whether my camera's got an issue. Didn't think about that. Noticing we got a little bit of purple there from the original uniform. There we go. There, just like that. Yeah, now we're working. I'm going to put a little bit of highlight here on the elbow. You can't even see me because I'm still stuck with my hand up here as far as you can see. That's kind of bizarre. Again, we have a hair light back here, right? So I want to make sure I've got something that indicates that hair light back here. So I'm going to put the highlight on the back part of the back like this, just so that you can see that. And I think that there'd be just a little bit right here. Right? I feel like that's this light back here is going to do that. So we're going to do the same thing with the blue on her uniform as well. And come along like this, and just like that. And give a little bit of that light. It's going to come up onto her hip right through here, so we want it to kind of be that way and move up onto her hip. We're going to do the same thing back here and just cross her back until it meets right there. And these uniforms, like I said, have their specialty powers, so I would assume that they're somewhat shiny. I mean, I wouldn't think that they're super shiny, but just a little bit shiny. Just enough for us to get this helps us see where everything is on the body. I'm going to use it to cheat a little bit here to give myself some structure here to the body. Whoa, we overran the lines. I'm going to try over the next couple of weeks to finish all these character designs so that we know what everybody looks like. Right through here. There we go, just like that. I'll grab this. And since the calf is at an angle, right? I mean, it's at a very weird angle. It's going to have just a slightly different aspect to its lighting. Right? Oh, Allie, you got your account back. I didn't know you lost your account. That's horrible. Well, it's good to see you. I sadly have a frozen camera. And I'm not sure what's wrong with my camera, but it has stopped working. So you can't see me. So I'll wave my brush at you. Hi, Allie. That's the best that I've got going for me here. So you had something wrong with your account. That's terrible. I'm glad you got your account back, though. There we we're working on Mayrel. Mayrel is I actually don't think they do have helmets. They're just not visual. It's not a visual helmet. You can't see it. And the idea is you can have, you want to keep as much of a field of view so you can see as much as possible. So really truthfully, let's be realistic. The reason they don't have helmets is because you'd have a whole bunch of helmeted characters and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between one to the other, right? So we've got to come up with a in-universe explanation as to why the character has no helmet on. And I think that in-universe, what we really have here is that they're not wearing helmets because the helmets are invisible, so they're like a force field. We live in a world where we can control gravity, and so if you can control gravity, we've got some kind of force field capability here. So Allie, what happened to your account? Did you for going into battle? Yeah. I mean, in Star Trek we don't wear uniforms or helmets in battle either, which I thought was interesting. I might have just a touch back here. So, there we go. We're going to go up here and grab some of the dark of her skin and put that right through here and right through here. So there is a culture of people that have this dark olive type skin, but also very shocking green eyes. And I think it's very cool. That's sort of where I'm headed for here. She has this darker skin, but she also has the green eyes. It's very rare. I'm feeling like I'm not getting where I want to go here. I'm feeling like all I'm doing is making her hand look weird. That's me. Leave me to hand look weird. Okay, we may have to come back and work on those hands in a bit. But when we talk about like these two characters, now we're getting better. I think the shading is right. We're still missing the dark shading over here, so let's go ahead and put that dark shading in. Because this needs to be dark right through here. Well, only the very, very front part of this is going to be actually lit like that. So this is she's got for when I pick color combinations for people, one of the things I really like to do is we're talking about the future where we really don't know what our ethnicities would look like. They're all going to be, I believe that we're all going to mix, and it's going to be kind of interesting. But I also feel like genes are recessive, and so even though we've mixed all of our genes, you're going to end up with really interesting color codes, and people being different colors, and I think that'll be fascinating. Right, and so I feel like we'll get all of this interesting colors out of people, and they'll be so cool. Right, and so kind of trying to reflect that here when we're dealing with these characters, trying to get them all to be different colors and ethnicities so that it'd be really interesting. I think people are cool. I'm easily entertained, I think. Here we go. There, much better. That whole area should be in shadow. And through here should be in shadow too. Alright. Now we've got our first real picture of Mayrel and what she looks like. We can look at her offset with Chang, and we can see that they both have good contrasting skin tones. The tones work well together. Helmets for going into battle. I've kind of thought about that too. Should they have? Because I feel like you may be right. If you have sort of a battle situation where the characters need to be in battle, should they be wearing some kind of helmet that locks on? And the helmet, I think, would be more of an assist. Should they be wearing gloves and a helmet? Probably. We'll have to come up with that thought process. We want everybody to have the freedom to be their characters. I think that's sort of a different story here. We want to... Man, that blue looks an awful lot like that green, though. No, I think it's just discerning enough. Do we feel like... I don't know, Donald. What do you think? Allie, you're both out here. Allie and Donald, what do you both think? We've got this green and this blue for command. Now I'm looking in for services, the people who are in service of the ships. Do we think that this blue and blue is too close to the green and blue, that it looks too similar, or do we think we'll be able to identify it easily? That's a good question. That's the question we're working on at this point. Okay. While we're working on that, I don't even know what happened to all of our controls. Where did our controls go? Haven't thought about what happens when you minimize stuff, have you? Where'd it go? I've lost my controls for... I've lost her. I don't know what happened to the... Is it down here? I guess I don't know where it went. Bring up her color codes. There we go. Because we need yellow for her uniform. We need to go through here and do this. Okay. I'm going to go through here and we're just going to highlight this. This has metallic trim to it. It is a metallic object. And because it's metal, I am just kind of being messy with it. because it's a metal-ish object. That just looks like somebody like spilled stuff on it. Let's fix that. But it's metal. So we're going to have kind of an interesting it's not quite as it's not light and dark like these are. It's reflective, and everything's reflecting off of it. The light in the room's reflecting off of it. All the different lights are reflecting off of it. So we're going to get kind of an interesting combination of things in here on it. There. And actually, I should have done this patch the same way, in that highlighted metal sort of way. I'll just put that down there and get the color codes later. Okay, so now we've gotten to the point now where I feel like the colors here are gray. I'm going ahead and save it. Well, thank you. You know that's the old Tamerlan patch. It's just that I've modified it and taken out the star in the center and put in instead Renum, which is their home world, with sort of, because Renum is a ringed planet, or the Renum is a moon around a ringed planet. So the idea is you now have a ringed planet as the outer side of the patch, with Renum in silhouette in front of it, because that's their home world. And then the arrow to indicate that this is the Space Force coming out of, or at least they were leaving the Space Force or whatever. So this is the group of out of Renum, and Renum being the home world. Okay, let's talk about this pedestal that she's on. It's just a box. It's actually a box that doesn't quite go the right direction. I'm not sure why the box is not complete down here, and it's going the wrong way. And that I'm noticing, it has some issues. It needs to go here, like that. Okay. Let's clear this. You're like, why isn't it going away? Because I actually have 2 layers up. There we go. I do too. I think it's it's nostalgic for me because it's still the patch that we used for Tamerlan, so it allows me to continue using the Saturn, which I was using for Tamerlan. But it also, on the same token, is unique, has its own feel, has its own world, things like that. I've been putting out background story onto my Patreon feed because I can't think of anything else to do for patrons. And I've been building the world building I've been doing by nature of telling small stories so that I can actually get a feel of what's going on in the world. And last night I was talking about the crown of the beehive. There's a group of stars in Renum space that they call the beehive. Let's see if I can bring up the map. Hang on real quick. I'll bring up the map for you so you can see what I'm talking about here. It's in maps. Right? Go move your car. We'll see you in a second. Okay, so there we go. No, you know what I want you to do. You moved over here. I don't want you to move over there. Computers are interesting, folks. Okay. This map is actually like accurate to some degree. I mean, there's a little bit of this that's not quite accurate. Like we're not 100% sure, but if you look at this, here's where Earth is right here at the very center of the soul bubble. And then we've got the Bellatrix complex, which is where all of the unity lives. Over here we've got the Pleiades, which actually, the seven sisters really are very close to each other. We've got Betelgeuse right here, and then we've got the Beehive, which is this group of stars right over here. And it actually really is called the Beehive. I mean, that's not me. That's astronomers. I don't know what the astronomers were thinking, but they think that it's called the Beehive. So, last night I was writing kind of a little bit of the background of what's going on over in the Beehive, and I kind of wanted to see what it would be like to have a modern monarchy. And so, I mean, you look at the UK, and the UK has a modern monarchy. They've got a queen, they've got a royal family, but the monarchy isn't really as much in power, and that's the same for Japan, which has an emperor and things like that, but they're not in power either, per se. I mean, I'm sure, I feel like the queen can do a lot more than the emperor could in Japan, and so, but still, even then, Parliament really runs everything, and the Diet really runs everything in the Japanese area. So, and so, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking, well, yeah, you mean the Beehive? Yeah, that's probably what it really is. It is a mess of little stars, which actually don't look like there are that many stars over here, but there are. So, coming out of the leap strand here, the Lucian primary artery leap strand, this is the drop-off point to the Beehive, and it's right here on the Beehive's zone, so to speak, in this area right here. So there's that, and then, you know, we've got all of these pieces. Last night I wrote a story a little bit about what was going on over here in the Beehive, and what's been happening in the Beehive for a while. They elect the house, so that's the way it works. You elect your house in, and that's the way the Beehive kind of operates. So the first story I wrote was sort of like, here's the new king, him and his house are in, and things like that. So it was kind of like we had the old house, but the queen's policies from the previous house weren't that good, and they weren't happy with it, and the people weren't happy, so they sort of called for a no confidence vote on that house, and they ruled that house out and voted in a new house. So it's like a democratic monarchy. Oh, well, hello. Unmask. I don't even know how to read that. Of trade car? I'll just call you 75. How you doing, 75? Okay. You do design, that's fine. Thank you very much. So we got interesting. Okay, I appreciate that. You do that. So over here on the Beehive, oh, now it snaps into place. It wasn't doing that before. Over here on the Beehive, we've got kind of a style going on for that. That's kind of cool. So I was writing a story about what was going on over in the Beehive. I think that's kind of cool. I mean, what's happening in the rest of the world? There's got to be other things happening in the rest of the universe, right? There's stuff that's going on, and so I wrote sort of a little bit of like this interviewer interviewing the king, and the interviewer's like, so what are you going to do about the policies of the war that's brewing on the other side of, and the king's like, that's not our problem. It's none of our business. That war is not our thing. We're not devoting ships. And I thought that was interesting. And I also felt like, what happened through that monarchy? What was going on? Any of that relative to this? No. The only real thing that you're going to see is that the G.S.Davis, the people that Mayrell's from, the G.S.Davis are wanderers. They're nomads. They don't live on a home world. They have what they called world ships, or these huge ships home ships, I think is what they're called. And they travel along in space. And so these world ships are very they wander a lot. And so because they're wanderers, they have no home world. I feel like they, on an upper level, are a threat to a lot of people. People find them to be threatening because you can't bomb their home world, so to speak. And one of the mutually assured destructions that keeps everybody in check is the fact that I could theoretically warp over to your home world and just throw an asteroid at it, and wipe out the entire planet. And so that's part of the threat that keeps everybody sort of locked into, and there's no way to do that with the G.S.Davis. So there are a whole bunch of, just like what we had when we had the gypsies and other cultures like that, which have been unfairly railroaded out, and unfairly, because as wanderers you can't take them all out. You can't threaten them. They're wanderers. So I feel like the G.S.Davis over here, they have a culture of being oppressed. And the Unity is being very forward thinking by allowing her to be in the military, sort of thing. That kind of logic. The weird logic like that. And part of the only thing that I think is going on with the Beehive is that the Crown, for a while there, was working with the G.S.Davis to try to figure out how to get them to have docking ports that worked and things like that. But then the king is murdered at one point in time, and murdered by a different wandering group, because there's a number of wandering groups, but they're going to ultimately blame the G.S.Davis for it. And so that's a twist to the story that goes in, that's history for this character. For her, that's just total history. That happened a while ago. That was a long time ago. But it's done now. It's a done thing. And it's down the road a little bit. So that's sort of where we're headed on this one. I'm just going to find some cool colors for this thing, this pedestal she's sitting on. We'll give it some, like a lime green or whatever. It's not important what it is, per se. Maybe orange? I don't think I want it to be orange, do I? I don't know, orange is not bad. Very 70s colors going on here, on this box she's sitting on. But I've got this grid behind her, so we're already sort of rolling to the 80s here. I feel like the politics and subculture is not going to necessarily show up as much in the actual comic books. It's going to show up a whole lot more in the backstory and by one-liners or throwaway lines. And so I feel like her jaw needs to be a little bit of a different, or just a little bit helped out here. So we're going to do that too. There we go. There. Like that. And maybe just a little at the top there, so because it's not going all the way up to her jawbone, where the jaw meets the skull. Okay. So we've sort of worked out what's going on with this character. We've worked out what's going on with this character. I'm going to go ahead and just put in a gradient back here of some sort. Let's go ahead and put a new raster layer in. Okay. You remember how to do gradients. There is a way to do gradients in this, and it's different with every program. Foreground to background. Let's do this. There we go. Looks like brown. I don't think I want brown. Maybe I don't want brown. Maybe red? I want red. I want red. That's very outrun, isn't it? Let's dim down that red a little. There we go. Because we just want her to show up. We don't necessarily need it to be like a thing. We might want to make it, though, up here to... I don't know if I want red. Maybe I want this blue, right? What if I want that blue? This blue right here. What happens when I do that? Will that cause a different story? Ooh. TBH, not bad, right? Okay, so we're gonna go up here and do the same thing, except we're gonna do the gradient. We're gonna do it this way, right? Like that. We need that to be a lot lighter, though. There we go. And all we're doing there is just giving in some kind of, just a little bit of background so that she's not just sitting on nothing. Right? We don't want her to be sitting on nothing. So we're going to go in here into this line here. I'm going to give a little bit of I just feel like it's silly to not have anything going on, right? I mean, so we'll just put some mountains back here because mountains are cool. It says the person who lives in Denver, Colorado, because mountains are always cool. There's never a time when mountains aren't cool. Right? Let's go through here. Why are you doing that? We don't know. What are you doing? We don't know. Maybe the grid's on a different layer. Probably the grid's on a different layer. Alright. I'm totally outrunning this. For those of you who don't know what outrun means, outrun is that style that we had in the 80s where we had grids and lines, and it was super impressive space stuff. That style of colors, the bright colors, and the various things. I love that. You had the Transformers logo, which did this very thing, and there's a mountain range off in the distance, and she really does look serious, doesn't she? She looks, and I don't feel like she's, well, no, I feel like she's definitely the straight man. Oh, I love Denver too. I feel like she's definitely the straight man in the story, because certainly Captain Chang is not, by any stretch of imagination, serious. And if you look at Angie, she's definitely not serious. So between these three characters, Mayrell's the serious one. She's the one who's going to be like, are you guys crazy? Are you guys insane? What's your problem? She's a holdover from, and in fact I even gave her the same hair as my character from Tamerlane. Let's see if I've got the individual picture of her. I don't really. And that's kind of a bummer. When we were dealing with, and I'm actually just kind of working on, I'm looking through things here, hang on. Wow, Lark and the Nightingale's pretty damaged here. I didn't realize how badly messed up it was. There's missing pieces in here from the Lark and the Nightingale. I hope that this could be an unpleasant experience if that's not actually out on the original comics section. I'll go look right now. I have all of my pieces here. Let's see, the Lark and the Nightingale. Oh, that's not in the right spot. Huh, looks like things are getting kind of screwed up here. I don't know how this is happening. Now, you can't actually see what I'm doing. So here, I'm wiggling my pen here, just so you know I'm still here. Okay. Weird, but at least this guy's still in place. So originally, there we go. It took a long time for us to do this. Originally, this was the character that Mayrell is going to be. So, originally, that was our Mayrell. This is Lieutenant Commander Ward from my Star Trek comic. And I'm transferring the essence of this character over without transferring all of the pieces of this character. So this isn't the same character anymore. It's not the same person, but her job in the story is the same. And so I actually gave her the same ponytail so that, you know, she has the same kind of concept going for her. So there's that. it's actually kind of funny when you look at all of the characters that these guys are being. Some of them haven't changed much, right? I mean, let's see here. I'm trying to find. I keep a ton of pictures in this folder. There's so many pictures. Finding it interesting that I can't find the portraits like I'm supposed to find in here. There's all these non-portraits that are going on. Like here is Cheng, as she's her original iteration of Cheng hasn't changed much. I mean, we've got freckles now and stuff like that, but we're still dealing with sort of the same critter-ish person. So we've moved her over to here from this particular mode, and we've moved over Ward into Mayrel, and Angie stays Angie. Actually, I think Angie's the one that's going to change the least. We'll work on her next week too. But Angie hasn't changed a whole lot from her original iteration a long time ago. Because Angie's character was so unique and so different in the comic that I actually don't need to alter much about her at all. So she's going to stay pretty much the same. In fact, so much so, you'll notice that whenever I do the codes over here, I have a code for both eyes. And the reason is because Angie actually has two different eyes. She's had a replaced eye. One eye has been replaced. And so, because of that, she's got a blue eye and a green eye, or a blue eye and a brown eye. So she has two different colors in her eyes. I have her over here with green eyes, but since now Mayrel has green eyes, I'm actually going to change that to a blue eye, just so they have different colors all over the place. And there you go. That's sort of where we are with all of this. So that's kind of how this is going. I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, Mayrel is definitely the straight man of the group. That's her job. Her job is to sit there and kind of say, well, are you guys insane? Are you guys crazy? What's your story, you know? Let's put some shadow down real quick on here so that we can get back to just finishing this guy off so that we don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm just going to put a layer on in between these two layers here, and we're just going to use black. I wouldn't do that with the actual character design itself because I don't want that to be an issue. I don't want that to cause problems here. But for right now, I mean, it's a lot of it has to do with the fact that I really want to keep uniformity when it comes to color and design and things like that. So we're just going to do this. And then we'll just take this layer and drop it down to 50%, right? And when we do, that'll give us the effect we're looking for here, which is looking like it's a shadow coming off of this box, right? And that'll allow us also to the side of the box here, like this. This style is called toon shading or toon rendering. Now she has interaction with the universe. All is good. All I need to do now is just put in my signature, and we'll be done with this piece. This piece is a character design piece, so I'm really just looking for stabilizing my colors, stabilizing what she looks like, and things like that, which we will be able to later on kind of glean from her. Let's go ahead and bring up my Hunko stamps. And bring this in. She's definitely wearing blue, so let's grab ourselves one of my blue stamps. I like these stamps. Alright. If anybody's ever wondering why I did that, each one of them is uniquely different now. Put this right here. Bring it up to the top. But it won't matter because we're going to hit multiply. So we'll do it like this. That's okay. We have about 2 minutes left, and then we'll call this guy done. Again, I'm dating it in Japanese dates. There we go. And there we go. I feel like, yeah, we're building this universe a little bit at a time, each time, and you're along for the ride. All of you guys are here to go with me on this universe build. And I haven't heard from Allie since the very beginning, so I'm hoping she's okay. I don't know if it matters that my camera is totally off. I'm still stuck here in this position. I don't know. I guess I'm immobilized. That's all right. It's all good. Okay. Well, we are done for the day with this picture from Mayrel. At least now we know what she looks like. We can come up with different pictures now and everything like that. I'll see you guys Monday. Next week should be back to a normal week. I don't see anything strange on my schedule, which would allow me, or which would force me to miss days like I did this week. We had some wild things going on this week, and like I said at the beginning of the show, and just taking care of the kid. This is the week of, they've got their conferences and various things. We had testing going on. It was kind of wild. So that's why you didn't see me a lot this week. We just had a lot of stuff that had to be done for the kid. And that's all right. He's through all of those things. He did very well. I'm very proud of him. He's a good little guy, doing fine. So we're done with that bit, and we should be back to a normal world next week. Until then, thank you very much for joining me, and keep your eyes on the stars. See you Monday. Have a good weekend.